And now, Working Man Radio with your host, Joe Lyles.
There is a solution to every social, economic, and political problem we have. And that solution is industrial prosperity. That is the solution, industrial prosperity. Let me ask you a question. What's in the news this week? They're listening in, I say listening, and they're monitoring the metadata on your telephone calls. You make a call and they know who you called. Right? By the way, how are you aggrieved by this? And let me tell you something. There is not a single bureaucrat anywhere in the government who knows about a single particular individual phone call you made. There is not one. And what if they did? What if they knew who you called? And you say, well, but they have all these records. Yeah, they know. No, they don't know. They know that like they know who was. It's like saying I know who was at the Super Bowl because I saw the Goodyear blimp with a picture of 70,000 people sitting in it. Well, I may know that there were 70,000 people sitting in it, and if you were sitting in that stadium, I might be able to see you in the sense that you're one of that sea of people out there, but I can't see you. I can't see you individually. I don't know who you are individually. I see a mass of people. And that's what they've got, a mass of data, and which they use to look for things in particular. They get a phone number attached to some terrorist or accused terrorist, and they can figure out who all he's talking to. Right? So if you happen to, if a terrorist calls the Domino's, the government knows that the Domino's pizza guy was talking to terrorists. Well, that's what we're talking about here. And everybody is concerned about it because, and when you say, well, there are people out there. There are terrorists. They do exist. They say, well, there are terrorists and they do exist. Well, we need to do something about, the reason there are terrorists is because of all those cities with people sitting in them. The ones I mentioned, none of those were in the Arab world, but there are some. Karachi, Pakistan is a big metropolis with lots of indigent squatters in it, all of them Muslims. Cairo is a big metropolis. I think there are something like 30 million people living in the Cairo metropolitan area, many of them homeless squatters, indigent squatters with no jobs and no money. And what kind of recruiting ground is that? Those kinds of conditions, if there were industrial prosperity in Karachi and Cairo, and throughout the Middle East and throughout the third world, if there were industrial prosperity and people had opportunities like they have here, how many radicals are there in America? Remember the other day I talked about Noam Chomsky made a reference to some radical populist farmers organization in Texas. And it was like, can you believe there was a radical organization in Texas? Yeah, I can believe it, because at the time that radical organization existed, there was poverty in Texas and unemployment in Texas, hard times in Texas. Right? Agricultural prices weren't furnishing any kind of decent standard of living to farmers in Texas, and they knew it. Today, Texas is filled with a bunch of smug suburban assholes because they all got fat, dumb, and happy thanks to New Deal liberalism, which they now all profess to hate. That's what happens. But whatever else they are, there aren't a lot of terrorists being produced in Texas. There aren't a lot of terrorists being produced in the United States because prosperity cures these problems. Opportunities cure these problems. You want to solve your need to data mine telephone calls going to the third world? Bring a little industrial prosperity to the third world. Industrial prosperity will solve the problem. Jobs and growth will solve the problem. You want to do something about our inner cities where gun violence, there are all the big concern about gun violence. You know what gun violence are concerned about? Gun violence against white folks. All the big cases that everybody's talking about. Look at this horrible gun violence problem. We've got to do something about this because guns are killing white people. Guns kill black people at a rate 3, 4, 5 times the rate of white folks. Where's the outcry? And for years. It's been going on for years. Where's the outcry? There isn't any. But there's a solution. There's a solution to inner city violence. There's a solution to inner city decay. Jobs and growth. The folks in the inner cities need jobs. Everybody agrees with that. White bigots agree that black folks need to get jobs. Well, there need to be some for them to get. Industrial prosperity, baby. Jobs and growth. That's the solution. You want to kick the bums off welfare? Jobs and growth. That's the solution. You don't want the immigrants taking the job that you want because, down in the tomato fields? Right, because I know you want to go get a job in the tomato fields, but those filthy, stinking Mexicans are keeping you from doing it. Well, jobs and growth is the solution to that problem. When there are jobs everywhere, when there are more jobs than there are people to fill them, all of a sudden the Mexicans aren't such a problem anymore. Jobs and growth is the solution to every problem except for one. Global warming, air pollution. The environment. That's the problem. We can't have jobs and growth. We can't have jobs and growth and the problems it will cause because everybody's saying we need to reduce greenhouse gases. We need to reduce our emissions of greenhouse gases. You know what the biggest contributor to greenhouse gases is? Coal-fired power plants. You know where they're building them one a day? China. Why coal? Because they got plenty of it. And China is an emerging boom economy. They have 10% growth a year, every year I don't know how long. 10% growth every year. It's a boom over there. And you can see it. You can see the boom. Just look out your hotel window. Scrape the grime off the outside of your hotel window. And look at that haze of smog. That's a problem. That's why we can't have the industrialized jobs and growth solution to every problem. And it's why, ultimately, and it's one of the reasons, if you're a progressive, this is one of the reasons that you're not popular. This is one of the reasons that your message doesn't catch on. Because you complain about things, you don't want data mining. I don't want the government knowing that I called my mother last week. I don't want the government knowing that I ordered a pizza. I don't know what the government, who are you calling? And anybody cares. I'm so important, the government is monitoring who I talk to. And I don't want them doing it. Because I just assume, let's just let a suitcase nuke come in and we don't need to know. And we can't solve the problem with prosperity because global warming. There are all these can'ts, all this stuff you can't do. And by the way, both sides, it's all about what you can't do. Well, let me tell you something. There is a solution to that too. The solution is to get out of the oil economy. The solution is to transcend fossil fuels and find clean energy. That's the one linchpin to the whole, transforming the whole planet. Who's in? I'm Joe Lyles. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. You've been listening to Working Man Radio with Joe Lyles at joelylesradio.com.